We often think of school as this straight line, right? You memorize facts, you pass some tests. But what if we completely reimagined it? What if education was more like a dynamic four-part adventure? An adventure designed not just to make us smarter, but to empower us to go out and make a real difference in the world.
And that's really the core question behind this incredible educational model called the Thriving Framework. It totally reframes learning as a journey, a quest that starts with your own personal curiosity and takes you all the way to public action. So, in this explainer, we're going to walk that path together. All right, so here's our map for the adventure. The framework unfolds in 4 key phases. We start with asking these huge questions, then we dive super deep into the content, then we connect all that knowledge to real-world problems, and finally, we turn it all into actual, meaningful contributions to the community. Let's kick things off at the beginning.
So our journey doesn't begin with answers. It starts with questions. Phase 1, the extended inquiry, is all about sparking a really profound sense of curiosity. It's about getting learners to shift from just passively receiving information to becoming active, critical thinkers.
The real key here is that word cultivate. This isn't about a teacher just handing you a list of questions to answer. No, it's about creating an environment where students learn how to come up with their own deep, meaningful questions. And to do that, the framework uses some really creative methods. Let's check out one of the most powerful ones, the alien researcher. The idea is so simple, but it's absolutely brilliant. You have to imagine that you're an extraterrestrial and you're observing human life for the very first time. And when you do that, all the things you take for granted suddenly become completely bizarre. All of a sudden, you're asking these amazing questions like, why do these humans trade these little bits of paper and metal for things? Or, what's the purpose of standing so quietly in a long line? From an outsider's perspective, our most normal behaviors become these fascinating puzzles. This method just playfully strips away all of our assumptions and forces us to ask, wait, why do we do things this way? Okay, so once all that curiosity is fired up, where do you go from there? Well, let's jump into phase 2 and see how this all builds into the deep content dive. This is where all that initial wonder gets channeled into a really rigorous and focused exploration of academic ideas. The goal here is something called durable knowledge. And this isn't about cramming for a test and then, forgetting everything a week later. Not at all. It's about building a deep connected understanding that actually sticks with you. It's where students are really wrestling with complex ideas and making meaning together. Now, to make knowledge stick, you've got to make it engaging. So get this, the escape room method. Instead of some dry, silent review session, just imagine being dropped into a puzzle where you have to use what you know about history or science to unlock clues and, well, escape a locked room. And this comparison really says it all, doesn't it? We're shifting from passively memorizing these isolated facts to actively using what you know to solve a complex problem with your friends. It just proves that rigorous review doesn't have to be a total drag. It can be fun, it can be collaborative, and it can be way more effective. So after building that solid foundation of knowledge, the journey takes a really critical turn. Phase 3 is the dive urgent exploration. And this is where all that academic learning comes crashing right into the complexities of the real world. The whole goal here is about relevance. It's about helping students see that what they're learning isn't just for school, it's for life. This is where they start to investigate pressing injustices and tough community problems with a sense of courage and empathy. So, how do you build that kind of empathy? Well, one super powerful method is called the quantum leap. It asks students to literally embody people from different moments in history or different walks of life, which forces them to grapple with these huge decisions from a first-person point of view. Just imagine being faced with this scenario. You're not just reading about urban planning in a textbook, you are feeling the weight of that decision. This method goes way beyond just intellectual understanding and gets you to an emotional insight, revealing the real human consequences behind big historical events. And that brings us to the grand finale, the final phase of the journey, community contributions. After all the questioning, all the learning, and all the exploring, this is where students turn their knowledge outward to create real, tangible, positive change. This phase is where a massive shift happens. You go from being a consumer of knowledge to an active contributor. Learning isn't just a private thing anymore. It becomes a public act where students use everything they've learned to serve, inform, and improve the world around them. One of the most incredible methods for this is something called forum theater. It's this type of interactive performance where students act out a scene showing a real problem, like bias or an injustice. But here's the cool part. The audience isn't just sitting there watching. They become what are called spectators. So here's how it works. Anyone in the audience can just yell freeze at any time, walk up on stage, and literally replace a character to try out a different approach. It is such a powerful, safe way for a whole community to rehearse solutions to real problems. It basically turns the theater into a laboratory for social change.
So, we've traveled through all 4 phases, from that initial spark of personal curiosity all the way to public action. What's the big takeaway here? Why does structuring learning as this kind of journey really matter so much?
Well, it really all comes down to this one question. The entire Thriving framework is designed to lead every single learner to this exact point. It reframes the whole purpose of education from just personal achievement to collective contribution. It empowers students to see that their knowledge isn't just for them, it's a tool for making things better for everyone.
And that leaves us with one final thought. I want you to take a moment and really think about this question. If your own education had been this kind of journey, a quest to understand the world so you could change it, what problem would you want to solve? What kind of contribution would you be inspired to make?